Now let's talk about COVID. On the show, we've spoken about the children of the pandemic, those who grew up in lockdown without much social interaction, glued to screens to learn and interact. What about those born in lockdown? New research says that lockdown babies may miss important milestones. When the pandemic first hit most of the world in 2020, governments rushed to implement lockdowns. Some lockdowns were especially strict. Families were trapped in their houses for months. Social distancing was the norm. It was almost impossible to meet anyone except close family members. And this was true for both adults and children. And of course, for babies too. So how did the lockdown affect toddlers? Did it matter that these kids didn't meet any strangers? And what about not being able to see the outside world, go to parks, daycare? Did all these factors affect their growth? Well, a study by Irish doctors seems to suggest that it did. A team at the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland studied 309 lockdown babies. These were children born between March and May in 2020. So did these lockdown babies reach growth milestones as quickly as other children? The doctors said that there was a noticeable variation. According to the study, lockdown babies took longer to speak, they were less likely to point at things, and they were less likely to wave goodbye. However, lockdown babies often learn to crawl in less time than others. That's what the study says. The doctors had a theory for all these differences, that lockdown babies took longer to speak because there were less people to talk to. In times before the pandemic, these children would have been meeting new people all the time. They would have heard new words when they were taken outside. But being stuck at home may have slowed the learning process. And that's what the study finds. This study gives us some insight into some of the long-term effects of the pandemic. For instance, babies usually point at things that they want, maybe something new and shiny. Lockdown babies would have gone through these things rather quickly at home. And as for waving goodbye to people, who would they have to wave to? Everyone they knew or were familiar with was stuck at home with them. Doctors also proposed a reason for the early crawling. Lockdown babies were not being carried around to new places. They were not being strapped to car seats. They spend more time on the ground at home rather than with other children. Therefore, they started crawling faster. All these points may sound logical, but this by no means is a definitive study, and I want to stress on that. Let me state this clearly. Comparison among babies is not a new story. And if you speak to elders in your family, they would tell you that each baby is different. Each one's trajectory is unique. Children grow and learn things at their own pace. There is no universal standard or benchmark for when a child needs to start talking or walking. But maybe you're still worried. You may think that things apply to your lockdown baby as well. Well, I'll say there's no need to fret. The doctors stressed that all babies can catch up. Luckily, at the age, the lockdown experiences are not long-lasting. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.